All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. Orinoco's Quest. You have been told this story this night of your time because this is a representation of a shamanistic journey. And by following many of the principles, by anchoring to the earth, by opening to its secrets, by expressing yourself more as nature rather than simply being within nature, you all become your own version of the idea of a shaman. Able to ground yourself firmly to Gaia, the earth, and yet then simultaneously be capable of reaching to the stars, the heights, other realities, other dimensions, other beings, other consciousnesses. Also, this story coming from what you call your future shows you the kinds of things you can experience now, but will experience on the future earth, when the elementals are revealed to you through the increase of the vibration of your senses, when the hybrids have landed upon your world and begin to blend with your society. But the story is told to you now as a seed that will grow within you, not only to allow you to take that vibration into your hearts, into your minds, and in your spirits, and allow it to grow for future generations, but also for yourselves to begin your own shamanistic journey within. To open your senses to the things that are around you all the time that are simply invisible now, which may be revealed to you as you heighten your senses, refine your senses, and allow your senses to be better receivers of higher frequency vibrations and energies and information. Thus, tonight begins a different journey, a journey that you can walk through the coming years on a path that is stable and true and well illuminated by your own inner light, to see you through all of the things that shall be coming in the days and years ahead, as the splitting prism continues to bifurcate the different parallel realities that you are capable of experiencing on your world. A world of many worlds, overlapping or side by side, divided by clear glass walls, through which you may, for a time, see other realities, including those you may not prefer, but which cannot affect you because they cannot reach you through the glass wall. This splitting prism will continue to create more and more and more probable reality options and opportunities for each and every one of you. So again, this story is given to you this night of your time to act as a guide, to act as a rudder, to help you navigate through that splitting prism, through the eye of the storm that we will discuss tomorrow of your time, and allow you to walk true, aligned with the compass needle of your signature frequency, so that you may always know what direction in which to head, unerring to your magnetic north that draws you from the future self. Because now, as we have said, you're going to be far more informed by your own future selves than by your past selves. You are tipping the scale, crossing the threshold, where there is more magnetism, more energy coming from your future selves than from the past. The past self is now letting you go, giving you permission to lock into that magnetic wave that urges you forward into more of your own future self. This story of the shamanistic path is given to you so that you will recognize through synchronicity the guardians on the path that will help you. And though there may be tests and challenges, fear them not. For this story gives you the insight to walk the path as Orinoco did, as Orinoco will. To allow yourself to walk side by side with your future self until you step into its footprints and become that which you have for so long considered to be beyond you, which now can be with you, which you now can be, which you now can own within your own being, and walking on that path in those footsteps, on that quest. Fear not the unknown. Fear not the dark caves ahead. For from the unknown you shall discover nothing but more of yourself. And from the unknown, no matter what comes out of it, it will also bring with it all the tools you need to handle it, to work with it, to transform it into more and more knowledge of yourself, more and more awareness of your being, of your spirit, of your truth. Orinoco's quest is the seed which will guide you. So walk the path with firm resolve. You can bring with you the wisdom of the past, the wisdom of the ancestors, as Orinoco did. But use it facing forward, not looking back. For as your year of 2020 comes upon you, from within your own language, it is not only, as we have said, the 2020 vision of looking forward, but the 2020 hindsight of understanding everything you have been to bring with you in great clarity, to be able to walk with clarity into your future self. Orinoco's quest is your quest to discover yourself, your true self, your whole self.
I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Thank you. We will, first of all, once again extend to each and every one of you our deep appreciation at the co-creation of this transmission, giving us an opportunity to experience through all of you collectively and each of you individually that many more facets of the multidimensional crystal of all that is. So we thank you for the gift of sharing you are allowing us this day of your time. We would like to begin this workshop regarding changing core belief systems in the following way. You have on your planet a joke. Some of you may have heard it, but it goes something like this. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And as some of you know, the answer is 1, but the light bulb has to want to change. This is very important for today's information. When dealing with core belief, the first step is you have to want to change. All the techniques, all the tools that we may share with you or have shared with you about changing beliefs will basically be lying idle on your shelf without the first and most important ingredient, the desire to change the core belief. Many of you have talked, and we have talked about the idea that you are going, euphemistically speaking, symbolically speaking in a way, from 3D to 4D, third density to fourth density. So let's take advantage of the nomenclature of 4D and present to you the basic curriculum we will be covering today, which involves 4 Ds. Desire, definition, dedication, and detachment. These are the 4 overall general elements necessary for changing core belief. Desire, definition, dedication, detachment. And we will explain each of these in depth as we go. First and foremost, understand that there is a difference between the vibrational energy of what is typically called desire and the word you often use, want. Not quite the same thing. It can be used in the same way, but we wish to make sure it is clear that in this context, when we are talking about desire, it is something far more akin to passion and a true deep soul desire than simply the idea that you as a person may want something. The desire, the level of desire we are talking about comes from the inner soul, the inner being. That which you are so passionate about bringing into your life as a state of being, knowing yourself deeply, who you are as a consciousness, the state itself that you wish to experience your life within, the desire to be nothing else but yourself in the purest way you can be, and reaching for that in all ways that you can, in thought, in word, in deed. Desire will be, in this case, the true driving force that will allow you the energy and the power to delve deep into your belief systems, find the core beliefs, allow yourself then to, in examining them and identifying them, change them. The desire, first and foremost, must be paramount in the utilization of these techniques, paramount in your focus for examining core beliefs. The desire to change. The desire to change. Overwhelmingly, overpoweringly, passionately, the desire to change, to be who you really are, to discover that and be who you really are. Without applying the first 4 Ds of desire and definition and dedication and detachment, without those, without all 4 of them, you may give rise to a 5th D, difficulty in changing your core beliefs. The first 4 Ds are so important in working together as a holistic system. They must all truly be present for the manifestation, for the change to occur, to be experienced in your life, in a tangible way, in a heartfelt way. So, let us, for the moment, examine one of the pages you have in your hands. Not the first necessarily, not the second. But look at the lists of words, the two lists of words. Now, the first group of words are conditions that are required for you to survive in physical reality as a physical being. If you stop simply and take a look and think about it, you will realize how important those are. Obviously, in order to continue your existence in the physical experience, you must be born into it. You do need to continue breathing. I believe you all understand that. You all really, generally need to drink. You all generally need to eat, and all the other things, just to maintain your existence in physical reality. The second level, the second group of words, are words that are representative of, in a sense, functioning, so to speak, getting along in physical reality. Now, not all of them are absolutely necessary, for certainly you can get along in physical reality without your eyes, or without hearing, or a few other things, although some of them are essential in order to truly function in physical reality. If you will observe, there is actually only one word that is common to both lists, and that word is dream. You absolutely must dream due to the nature of how you have created your physical reality, and in creating the sense and experience of detachment, so to speak, or disconnection, so to speak, or limitation, so to speak, from the spirit world. In creating that experience of detachment from the spirit world, you must from time to time reconnect to it. And generally speaking, although of course we understand there are many different kinds of dreams, and many different reasons for dreaming, and many different meanings that you can give to dreams, many different representations that come from dreams, we're actually talking about the physical mechanism of dreaming that allows you as a being to expand and go into the connection of being a little bit more yourself in the spiritual level while you are still physical. This reconnection on a regular basis is critical for your actual physical survival and for your ability to function in physical reality. Many individuals on your planet, as some of you may know, have done what you call studies about dreaming and sleeping. And they have found quite correctly and realized quite correctly that you might be allowed to dream but not sleep so much. And if you don't sleep so much, you will be perhaps tired. And perhaps some of your functionality may be a little bit impaired. But as long as you are allowed to have moments of dreaming, you will still be able to continue to function more or less normally in physical reality. However, they have also found that no matter how much sleep they allow an individual to have, if they prevent the individual from dreaming, very rapidly the individual will dissolve into psychosis. And they can actually die from that. Understand the dreaming is far more critical than the sleeping itself. So, in order to actually maintain your physical existence, you must dream. In order to function in physical reality, you must dream. The reason we bring this up And the reason we point this out in these lists is that that is really what we're talking about also when we talk about desire. It's connected very strongly to dream. Understand that your dreams, your ability to dream, in that sense, is connected to your ability to desire, to manifest, to realize and experience in physical reality. And dreaming and desiring from the soul level, in many ways, are essentially the same thing. Because when you dream, you are creating, as we said, a reconnection, a manifestation of an experience of more of yourself, which is really what desire is all about, fundamentally. It drives you to experience more of your true holistic self. Now then, definition. We've talked many times about defining your beliefs, and definition remains. Defining your beliefs remains a critical component of accessing and dealing with core beliefs. And what we are also talking about when we talk about definition is clarity of definition. Clarity of definition. Really getting down deep into exactly how your beliefs are constructed, how your definitions are put together, what components make them up, what ideas and thoughts go into it or result from it. All the factors that stem from and help to reinforce the definitions you have bought into, that you have been brought up with, that you have been spoon-fed since birth. Remember that in accepting and in choosing the idea of the physical reality experience, generally speaking, although some things are somewhat malleable, you have agreed to accept and adopt a series of ideas and concepts that, in a sense, govern physical reality, such things as gravity on your planet, electromagnetic fields, neurological impulses, so on and so forth. I am not saying these things cannot be changed by your vibration, but generally most of you agree to play along and let those things run automatically so that you can focus on other issues, instead of having to constantly, consciously think about keeping your feet on the ground. You allow yourself to simply have an automatic portion of your beingness that says, I agree that as long as I'm on physical reality Earth, gravity exists, and I won't simply go floating off into space. Although that can happen sometimes for various reasons. And we may get into that later. But the idea is that when you choose physical reality and you agree, generally, to adopt a series of conditions, one of those things has to do with the patterns that are already existing that result from the experiences of the parents you chose to be born to. So that in coming through them, to be physical, to be born physically, you will to some degree adopt some of those patterns from them. A kind of hand-me-down from them. A kind of family agreement that says, I will agree to explore with you similar themes, similar ideas that you may call patterns or experiences. Not that you will necessarily have to play them out in the same way your parents did, but you often agree to explore similar themes they went through so that you, in exploring them and coming up with a different perspective, and perhaps even a different outcome, can add to the overall soul family group's experience of all the different ways that theme can be played out in your family group. And so, you often take on yourself in being born definitions and belief systems and ideas that will result in certain kinds of patterns or schedules or things that will come up or issues that will appear in your life at certain times, often, very often, at the same times that your parents experience them in terms of the same age in your life, and you will deal with them in your own way. Those moments are opportunities for you to get in touch with what that issue, what that idea, and what that belief means to you, what meaning you choose to put in it, how you want to relate to it, and what you want to bring in terms of your learning experience in dealing with it to the soul family experience overall. So it is very important in doing that you have absolute clarity of definition of what those beliefs are that you have been handed from your parents, from society in general, or sometimes even what you may have chosen to bring through with you, just simply as something you have chosen to explore. Whether you connect it to the idea of past lives, future lives, all those things exist simultaneously. So it's really more of a cross connection to some other life going on right now, concurrently. But nevertheless, no matter how you make a relationship or how you need to explain it or set it up to yourself in order for you to have the experience and explore it, getting clarity of the definitions, getting clarity of the belief systems is critical, especially when you are dealing with core beliefs. Because, as the name core belief implies, you have set these belief systems up in layers, like an onion. Often it will be easier for you to peel them away, get down to the core, to understand the underlying foundation that supports and maintains and perpetuates all the other beliefs on the upper layers. But in giving yourself layers, and in dealing with the outer layers or the top layers, however you wish to look at it, doesn't matter, first, dealing with them first and peeling your way through them, it gives you practice. It gives you experience in dealing with beliefs. And getting down to the core ones will allow you the greatest changes in your life and will give you the techniques, the tools, the capacity to deal with any other beliefs that may come up from other timings that may occur in your life from that point forward. So dealing with the core issues, the core belief that supports all the other ones, even though you may have peeled your way down to the core and gotten to the core and made changes on a core level, this does not mean you have not set yourself up to explore other things, that you may not bring other belief patterns in at another time. And those patterns will connect to the core belief as well, and in dealing and learning how to deal with the core belief, you will be better able to handle those other levels of beliefs when they come up in a different arena, in a different area of your life. But all those upper layers will connect to the same basic core. And that's why it's so important to get a handle on what that core is, so you can handle all the different layers as they arise at different times in your life. So definition, clarity of definition, the second component, we will explore that as well this day of your time. Desire, definition, and dedication. Dedication, very crucial in this idea of allowing your exploration of core belief to stick, to work, to manifest, to create in your life an experience of change. Dedication. What do we mean by that? In a sense, it's like saying commitment to the self. To really make it the most important thing, the most paramount thing in your life, to explore these core beliefs and to change them. Dedication also connects into another thing we have talked about many times, which has to do with behavior, the actions that you are willing to take on behalf of what you say you desire to do, on behalf of the changes you say you desire to make. Dedicating yourself in your behavior to acting on those things that are representative of getting in touch with those core beliefs and making the changes to become more of yourself. The behaviors that are representative of the person you say you ultimately would prefer to be. Dedicating yourself to choosing through your actions only those things vibrationally representative, only those things behaviorally representative of the person you say you wish to be, of the person and the life you say you prefer that person to have, so that in thought, word, and deed, you constantly reinforce with your dedication to choosing only those things that you really do have the desire, most important of all, to be that person you say you prefer to be. Without that dedication, there is no reinforcement and no laying out of a conduit for the desire to manifest. Dedication, very important component, choosing only those things that are truly representative of the person you believe you are becoming or wish to become. The fourth D, detachment. This may sound completely and paradoxically contrary to the idea of desire, and in some senses it is, but it is not. Not at all. It is quite complementary. By detachment, again, we simply mean the neutrality that is so important that diffuses the idea of built-in meaning, the recognition and awareness that there is no built-in meaning, and the willingness to put the meaning you prefer into every situation that comes along, every situation that happens. But even more so than that, the detachment, not in a judgmental way, not in a negative way, but the detachment from all things that are not representative of your desire and your dedication and your ability to clearly define what you are and what you are not. Detachment also from the idea of beliefs that do not serve you. For when you have the strong desire and when you have the clear definition and when you have the powerful dedication, you will detach from the things that don't serve you. You will recognize what they are more clearly. You will discern what they are more clearly. And you will simply realize they are not you, that things, certain things are not vibrationally you, and you will detach from them. Again, not in a judgmental way, but in a compassionate way, through the simple observation and awareness that a thing simply isn't you. It's not your truth. It's not who you prefer to be. It's not representative of the behavior or the actions or the circumstance of the person you say you desire to be, of the being you know you are. So detachment from the things you are not is what paradoxically will then reinforce and amplify and magnify, bringing it full circle, the desire to be who you are. This is an amplification process. You start with desire, and you go through the definition, and you go through the dedication, you use it to arrive at the kind of detachment that will clear out the things that don't belong and allow the desire, like a fire, to burn that much more brightly in you and illuminate more clearly for you the things in your definitions that don't work for you, and drive you more strongly to dedicate yourself to being who you really prefer to be, thus then arriving once again at the state of detaching in a compassionate way from those things that don't serve you, so that can make more room for your desire to burn even brighter. And you amp yourself up and amp yourself up and amp yourself up in this way through this 4-step process. And that is why, if any one of those key components is missing or left out or not as fully utilized as it could be, you will then create the difficulty because you will be breaking the circuit. This is a complete circular, self-realizing, self-magnifying, self-amplifying idea. And all of those things are equally important in the holistic approach of getting the experience in your life of this technique and these ideas really working for you. Really working for you. So, again, desire, definition, dedication, and detachment will allow you to truly disassemble the beliefs that don't work for you. Disassemble the personality that you may have been taught to be, and will allow you to assemble a new you in a very experiential way, a very experiential, manifesting, physical way. We bring this tool to you now at this time because now is the proper time for this tool in you. Use it or lose it. It's up to you. It's up to you. Now, we will go into these a little bit more deeply, but let us give an overview, as we have already begun to do, of the next diagram, which would be, in your understanding, the middle diagram, what has been referred to as the Enneagrammatic Circuit, the 9 circles in a square. This is not so much itself a primary tool as it is an assisting tool in this overall process and experience. It will help in the way that what you might call an affirmation will help to focus you. It's a focusing mechanism. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be, and is not designed to be, completely a conscious mechanism. It will operate on a multitude of levels within your conscious and subconscious and higher conscious selves. The saying at the bottom is generally a loose translation of what the symbols mean in the circles, read as a sentence, read as an idea in context. These symbols are derived from what you know to be ancient Phoenician symbols. The reason this was chosen is because those symbols are not only a precursor to certain other very strongly vibratory languages on your planet, such as Hebrew, and they dig deep into the vibration of your being, whether you are Hebraic or not. Doesn't matter. There's another level to this altogether. Tonally, vibrationally, that these symbols represent. And it also detaches, to some degree, your consciousness from the idea that it represents any particular culture, since the idea of the Phoenician culture no longer really exists on your planet intact. So it takes you to an ancient space that in some senses goes around or leaps over or goes through a lot of your expectations about what language is all about on your planet today. It goes to the undercurrent, the foundation. In a sense, it can be called a core language, and so it's appropriate for what we are doing. That language and the symbols are also connected to extraterrestrial sources as well. Not just the idea of physical ET beings, such as myself, but other dimensional levels of guides and spirits and so on and so forth. And many of these symbols were, in a sense, received and given from those sources to your people in ancient times, because they represent certain ideas, certain vibrations that key into the matrix of the meanings that you typically give to things on your planet. So they work well, hand in hand, with the patterns and meanings you have automatically set up within yourself, and are good for loosening those meanings up by setting up a sympathetic or empathetic vibrational tonality that unlocks you from certain patterns and expectations as you look at the symbols from the center, the dot in the center, go to the upper right-hand corner first. That is the eye. Going down, then you will understand it progresses through the idea of mouth and hand, and cutting across the bottom. The middle symbol in that sense is water, which is transition and change. And then going to what you would call the bottom of the left-hand column of circles, then going into the idea and the symbol that represents path or fence, in a sense, that you would follow. And going up to the window, and then upward to the door, and then going to the right, the center symbol above the dot, the circle with the cross in it, which represents the unknown. And so then in reading the sentence that is vibrationally representative of how these symbols work together, you will understand that it is when you start from the inner being of yourself and in physical reality express yourself through sight and through sound and through touch, in the way that is cohesive in what we are talking about today, in those manners of desire and dedication and definition and detachment, then in thought, word, and deed in that way will you cause the transition, will you cause yourself to dissolve into the water, dissolve the crystalline patterns and reform them by following the path to the windows and doors that lead to the unknown, which opens up your reality and brings you back to the center of your being in a very powerful way. So focusing on this as a kind of meditative mudra will allow you to help yourself focus on the principles that we have talked about, the 4 Ds. It will give you some focus. It will put you in the proper state of mind, shall we say. Now, the final diagram, which is a collection of 19 circles with what you might call a type of jagged spiral that connects them. We will get into this more deeply as this communication continues, but in an overview, a general overview, This is a symbol that comes directly from our civilization's history. It is something we created in our civilization as a representation and an understanding of how to spiral downward through different dimensions into the core of your being, and then spiral outward from that core upward through different dimensions into manifestation. In some senses, this could be called a neurological spiral. We did not want nor instruct there to be the name put on the page, because there should be nothing else in your vision when focusing on this image other than the image itself. And it represents the idea of going down through the layers of your beliefs to the core, and coming up from the core through new beliefs and outward into manifestation, following that spiral. And as you can see, dimensionally speaking, the spiral itself, when you look at it in a certain way, actually takes on three-dimensional characteristics. It sort of looks like an unfinished cube or box. Certain lines seem to come toward you. Certain lines seem to go away from you. So it fulfills the idea in a two-dimensional plane of an actual multi-dimensional path that you actually are taking when you focus on this image, and it actually lets you pass through different dimensional and neurological levels of your belief system to the core, and brings those ideas from the core back out into a 3- and 4-dimensional manifestation. It's a very, very powerful gazing tool that will, in a sense, change literally your dimensional perspective of who, what, where, and when, and why, and how you are, and how you manifest yourself. So, set these aside for the moment. We will get back to these tools in a while. But at this time, let us focus a little bit on our journey toward accessing core beliefs. Let us focus on a primary question. That question is why? Why am I here? One of the primary questions humans ask. Why am I here? Now, aside from how we have addressed this idea on a simplistic level in the past, which is to simply say, well, why not? There are very specific reasons why you chose to be where you are. And it is getting in touch with those reasons from a spirit level in choosing this life that you begin your journey to the core. Coming down from heaven, so to speak, to earth, that passage, the why of that passage, is also essential in your understanding of what it is you will be accessing in your core, because it has to do with the themes that you took upon yourself in choosing to be physical and have a physical experience. And it has to do with understanding, as we said, the patterns you have taken on from your parents and your society, and how you play those out. The why. Now, when you choose themes or a kind of physical life or experience from spirit, from that perspective, from that level, before each life, again, we understand we're speaking linearly for clarity's sake. It's all happening at the same time. It's all one. We know all the lives are simultaneous, but just so you understand this process, because that's what physical reality is all about, process. That, to some degree, is what takes us back to the why. Why has to do with process. The asking of the questions in life, the most important questions. Why this? Why that? Why is this that way? Why is that way? The why question is the very core of the existence of physical reality, because it has to do with the fact that only in really physical reality do you experience creation in the form called process. There is time and space definitions that give you the ability to actually experience creation in process. Otherwise, from higher levels, there's no time, there's no space. A thing just is. And there is no appreciation or depth of exploration of why that thing is. So physical reality exists, in a sense, so you can develop an experience of the deep appreciation of the why component of all that is. That's what physical reality is for. And so when you choose a physical experience, what you're actually saying is you want to dive into the why of it. Not the YMCA of it, the why of it. You want to experience that aspect of all that is, the actual creative manifestation component of the one, of the all. And you need a space-time referential point of view in order to have that experience. And in that process from spirit, each time with each life, as you choose the components that will make up your experience of the why, you are very, very specific about what ingredients you put in to the experience of that life and how it relates not only to the soul family's overall experience as well as your own, but also how it relates to every other experience you are having, both in and out of physical reality. You really look at it as a network and know that every nodal point, every life, whether physical or non-physical, in that web, on that net, reinforces every other nodal point. And so the selections of what this life, this nodal point experience of the why is all about is very specifically chosen. Now, that does not always mean that you choose every specific thing that happens specifically in the life before you come into the life. Some things are left up to the idea of randomness because that's part of the why as well. But the themes are generally specific, and sometimes certain ideas that are experienced, certain situations and circumstances are set up for yourself, by yourself, including the idea of choosing your parents, and so on and so forth, choosing your brothers and sisters, maybe even choosing some of the friends you will have, because you understand that their reflections in your life is what will drive you in the direction of your particular experience of why that you wanted to have in this life. That particular experience of self-discovery, which is the ultimate why question. Who am I? Why am I here? That self-awareness, that self-knowledge on an individual and a grander scale coming together from the beginning to the ending of your life, in a sense, is what it is about. The why of it. That process, that creative arc, as you film people say, is what it's all about. The comparison, in a sense, to use the word loosely, between where you begin and where you end up in any given life, that arc of experience, that process, and the changes and differences that you experience in it are adding to your understanding on a bigger level of what you are as an aspect of all that is. I know this is heady stuff, and you don't have to feel like you've got to get it right away, and I don't mean it to sound like you are being talked down to, because we understand the great capacity you all have to absorb information and knowledge. That's not the way it is meant. But we understand we are also giving this information in a prescribed way, at a certain rate, that is designed purposely sometimes to actually kind of overshoot your conscious mind and go directly into the core of your being. So that, like what you call a time-released capsule, much of what we are giving you today does not necessarily have to be retained immediately consciously, but will come up, will bubble up to the surface, a little piece here, a little piece there, and then, when appropriate, when you're ready to handle it, and you will then deal with having the tool to deal with the situation at hand. That kit, in that sense, exists within you, and much of what is being done today in dealing with your core beliefs is instilling within you an awareness of that kit through these specific methodologies of desire, definition, dedication, and detachment that will allow you in any given situation in the arc of your life to know that you can open that toolbox when you encounter something that requires its application and apply the tools as we give them to you today, that you will have those tools with you always and feel automatically that the box will open up and the appropriate piece of information will come forward exactly when and where you need it synchronistically in your life, so that this entire process becomes a joyful and effortless and creative one instead of something you feel you have to struggle with through the 5th D of difficulty. So, the way this is being delivered, do not worry if you miss a word or a sentence or a concept here and there. By all means, if you want clarification, that is invited through questions and dialogue. And by all means, do so. But do not worry that you have missed something. If you are here in this dialogue today, this kit, I am telling you, is in you. It's in all of you, even those not here. But this kit will begin to open up. By being here today, what you have done is you have given us the permission to absolutely, at the very least, unlock the toolbox so that you can have access to it. Now, how often you open it, how well you use the tools, that will be up to you. But I guarantee you that from this day forward, that toolbox will be unlocked, and you will always have access to it. No matter how it may seem, you may not immediately have access to the core beliefs. You will always have access to the toolbox. It will always, to use what has now become a common term on your planet in computer lingo, the toolbox will always be sitting on your desktop. You can always double click it. It will always open. Always. What you do with it after that is up to your level of desire, definition, dedication, and detachment. You will amplify and sharpen those tools with your willingness to be yourself through desire. But it will always open for you. And it's up to you how to use them, when to use them, where to use them, how much to use them, how little to use them. It's up to you. On this particular segment of our discussion now, we invite any opportunity for clarification of anything that has been said or anything that has come up within you during this time that you feel it is important to share in terms of statement or question.